Yo, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be doing a post recording of a BG I did the other day. A lot of you guys wanted me to give you kind of my mindset and pretty much what I do during a BG. So today we're going to be doing a post recording of a Twin Peaks game I did the other day. So normally what I like to do at the beginning is I like to burst the speed through the front gate and use my Goblin Glider to get down to the Zerka buff. And doing this pretty much guarantees me the Zerka buff on this map every single time. And then I like to use Sprint, and since I'm running with the Glyph of Blurred Speed, I'm able to walk across water, which is pretty awesome. So at this point, there's still a lot of people coming down from the Horde side, so what I'm doing here is I'm looking for any sort of stragglers, and it looks like we have a Shaman here. Now what I do here is I sap him, use Pre-Med into Slice and Dice, and open up with Cheap Shot into Hemorrhage to get the damage boost. Now some of you might be wondering why I preemptively cloaked before I opened, and that's to avoid getting hit back by Thunderstorm, which he doesn't do, so it was pretty much useless in that scenario. But normally, Shamans are going to use Thunderstorm whenever they get opened on by a Rogue or any sort of melee DPS, so that's always good to keep in mind. And right after I killed that Shaman, this Hunter started hitting me, so I backed off for a second and popped Vanish. And we have my Warrior buddy over here, which forces the turn, so I opened up with a full Cheap Shot and popped Shadow Blades. And this pretty much is the end of this Hunter. He didn't have Trinket, it seems, so he just went down completely. Now I still have Shadow Blades up here, so I'm still looking to pump deeps into something, so I open up on this other Hunter with a Mark for Death into a full Kidney Shot. And he actually pops the turns pretty soon here. I think it's right here, yep. And so I just try to keep on him. I'm going to back off for a second to get a re-stealth, and then I'm going to reopen on him. He's going to pop his Engineering Boots, so I'm just going to do the same just to get over to him so I could guarantee the kill. Now I could have probably stopped that heal if I blinded him before he deterred, or if I just ran into the heal itself, but it didn't really seem like a huge deal to me at the time just because he was pretty low anyway. And obviously a little heal is not going to do much for you in this kind of situation, so he goes down pretty quickly here. Now at this point I notice that they have our flag and we don't have theirs yet, so I'm looking for their FC, and I see their FC coming around the side here. And I actually sap him, and I really should have opened on him here, but I was actually looking for his priest. I thought his priest was right behind him, but definitely not, so I had a choice I had to make here. I could have either went back and sapped this priest and risked the cap, or I could have just stayed here and opened on him, so I decided to go for the second option. So I opened up with a Cheap Shot after I inch over to him with Sprint into Hemorrhage, pop Shadow Dance, and right now I know his priest is coming, so I wait to Smoke Bomb, and as soon as I see that bubble, I drop down my Smoke Bomb and finish off my Shadow Dance. And I actually focus blinded that priest, but he trinketed. I kicked that heal, and this is when things started getting a little bit challenging. I'm pretty much energy starved at this point. I got feared, I trinketed that, and I ended up getting thunderstormed out of the water. So right now, there's no way I'm going to be able to finish off that shaman at this point. He was getting heals from himself, and I see a Hunter coming over here, so there's no way I'm going to be able to finish him off there. So I decided to do the one thing that I could do, and that's grab the flag before he has a chance to cap. So I ended up grabbing the Horde flag, and I used preparation so I could get my sprint back, so I could walk on water and just make a clean getaway. I ended up having a Hunter on me, and their Shaman FC was actually off-spec DPSing me, so I used Fan a couple times to mitigate that damage a little bit. And I actually got pretty lucky with the Q. I ended up having a Guildie in the same BG as me, who ended up being a Holy Pally, who pretty much kept me alive as I was doing the FC work. So I got really lucky there. It's always good to have somebody that actually knows what they're doing. So we make our way over to the base, and there's already a couple of Horde guys here. I end up opening up on this mage. I cloak his Nova just in case he was trying to deep me, and I focus the Hunter. Now I actually timed my cloak a little bit off here, so he does get the deep off, but I end up fainting it. So there goes 30% of his burst, which is why it's always good to utilize feint. Never take feint for granted. It's amazing for avoiding any sort of huge damage scenarios. Now this mage doesn't really have anything left. I get a couple big crits with the Eviscerate. He's going to go down pretty quickly here. There he goes. So once he's down, I switch off to the Hunter, and he's going to pop the turret right out of that trinket. So I'm going to switch off to the other Hunter, disarm that Hunter, and just start pumping damage into him and see if I can get the turns off. I blind that Shaman that's free casting on the side here. Nobody decided to CC him, so I had to be the guy that did that. Now I was going to go for a stab out of that with Dance, because obviously I can't vanish because I'm the FC. But I ended up getting rooted, and I didn't have cloak to break it, so I had to just sit there, and I couldn't get any sap off. So I decided to switch on to this other Hunter who I knew didn't have any trinket or one of his deterrents. So I decided to just try to take him down here. I get scattered into a trap. I do end up eating it just because I'm the FC and I know somebody was on me, so that breaks pretty much instantly. And this Hunter's going to go down pretty quickly here. A big 115k Eviscerate right there. And he goes down. I switch on to this other Hunter and just try to help my team out with pumping in the deeps. I don't really have any cooldowns at the moment as far as damage CDs go, but I do get a Mark for Death into a full kidney on the Hunter to try to mitigate a little bit of his damage. I end up getting rooted, so I cloak off those roots and I try to get back on the Hunter. He deters pretty much instantly as soon as I get up to him. And I noticed that that Shaman put down a cap totem, so I end up using my 5 command points that I had up on the Hunter to put Recuperate up, and I kill that cap totem, so nobody's gonna get CC'd here. And I see that this Shaman's pretty much free casting on me here, so I put this Hunter in a DR Kidney inside a Smoke Bomb to try to mitigate some damage. And my Pally buddy actually threw that Shaman into a Hodge just to try to mitigate a little bit more damage. I end up killing this Hunter right here and switch off to the Shaman because I knew that his Shaman Rage was about to fall down and he's pretty under gear to begin with. and I can't have him free casting into me all game, so I switch off to him. And I made a little mistake right here. I put him in a D-guard kidney. I didn't mean to do that this time, and I popped Shadow Dance. And really that wasn't a big deal because he goes down pretty quickly with a 126k eviscerate. I switch onto this hunter to finish off my dance, and I get a pretty decent eviscerate crit, 84k. And he's actually going to go down pretty quickly here. He has no deterrence, so he's going to die right about now. Boom goes the dynamite. As soon as that hunter dropped, I see this rogue pop out and open up on my pally. I instantly disarm that rogue, and because he's not running with living steel weapon chain for whatever reason, whether it be he's under geared or he just doesn't know, it turns out to be a full disarm, and I end up putting him in a full kidney out of that disarm and just finish him off right here. Now at this point, I'm waiting for my team to get the flag back, and this mage comes back, and I feint his deep, end up trinketing that, and I start pumping damage into him. I pop Shadow Blades and Cloak of Shadows, so pretty much I avoided his entire burst. And I'm just trying to help my team by keeping the pressure up and pumping the damage into him. He doesn't really seem to know what he's doing so much, so he pops Temporal Shield, but that doesn't really do much. He has a lot of guys on him. He tries popping Ring, I kick that, and he gets Blanket CS, so he goes down pretty quickly here. Nice 84k eviscerate right there. And I just head back to my corner over here just to LOS the hunter and try to lure him down so I could kill him in a quick Shadow Dance, but he doesn't end up coming down. And pretty much I noticed that my team wasn't really doing much on killing the FC, so I end up telling the pally in my group that I'll go take care of it. So I give him the flag, and I head over there. But it turns out pretty much their entire team was in there, and they actually ended up getting the cap off, considering the pally was really the only healer on our team. Meanwhile, they have a Holy Priest and a Resto Shaman. So that kind of sucked, but it wasn't really a big deal. We actually were able to turn this around later in the game. So at this point, I'm heading back to their base, and I see their undergeared Shaman again. So I ended up sapping him, and I was going to do the little 90-degree rogue trick, where I could open up with Garrote in the cheap shot without breaking sap, but this guy on my team actually ended up breaking my sap before I could do that. But he goes down anyway, so it's not really a huge deal, so that's fine. After I killed that shaman, I finally made it over to their base, and I opened up on their FC, which was this barrel drill with a crap ton of health. I guess he was stacking stamina gems or something. And it took me actually quite some time to kill him. He had a pretty crazy amount of health, and you know, it just took some time. He was popping a lot of his defenses. I tried avoiding that blowback by getting behind him, but he ends up doing a 180 to just get in on me. And as soon as I got back on him, he popped Dispersion, which is really good for us. So at this point, I'm just waiting for that to fall off, and I end up hitting him with Eviscerate. A really weak Eviscerate, but it's all good. I cloaked off his roots, and we were able to get the kill without any problems. Now at this point, I noticed that they have our flag, so I head down to their graveyard to try and cut off the FC. And I see the FC coming across the water, and I'm thinking, should I go for the kill? And I do end up opening with a cheap shot into a hemorrhage, and I actually pop everything here just to try and force guarding here, which he does, and he also blew his trinket. So I follow up his trinket with a DR kidney shot. I blinded that shaman. Now I'm not sure if he trinketed that blind or if somebody knocked him out, but either way, all I was going for was to force guarding. So I get disoriented here, so I trinket that, back off a little bit, pop Banish, and I plan to open on him later when Shadow Dance comes back up. And that's exactly what I do. I reopen with a cheap shot into a hemorrhage and pop Shadow Dance. I put down a smoke bomb, and at this point they don't even know what's going on. I'm just pumping the deeps into this guy. I use Mark for Death into a DR kidney shot. I preemptively cloak just in case he wanted to go for a fear on me, which it does look like he does, so I was able to avoid that. And I actually get the flag return, which was fantastic for us, and we end up getting the cap. One thing a lot of people don't seem to realize about rogues are about getting those single target kills. They're not about 1v5ing or 1v3ing. The class is not made to do that. They're all about just getting those quick assassination kills, and that's just what the class is designed for. They're not made to be able to go in there and bladestorm everything or just, you know, chaos bolt everything around there. They're simply not designed to do that, and I just felt like I needed to mention that because people that don't play a rogue seem to get this false assumption that rogue should be able to 1v5, because that's definitely not the case. We're not like other classes when it comes to defensive CDs, because our defensives aren't really super great compared to other classes. We're not made to be able to tank out a lot of damage. Especially Subtlety and Combat Rogues, we're super reliant on our offensive CDs, so that's just something to keep in mind for anybody that doesn't play Rogue and gets these false assumptions. Anyway, before I go off on more of a tangent, let's actually get back into the gameplay. Now, some of you probably noticed that I did pick up the Zerka buff on my way back, and you always want to pick up the Zerka buff whenever you see it's up if you think you could actually utilize it. But if it turns out you're undergeared or new to a class, don't bother picking it up. Let somebody else on your team that can utilize it a lot better pick it up, because you really want to optimize it to the max, if that makes any sense. Anyway, at this point, we're pretty much just playing defense. I get a really nice 180k eviscerate on that undergeared shaman, which is really awesome. And I see that this druid is going for a re-stealth, so I go over there, get a re-stealth, and I pop Shadow Walk to try and find him. And I do end up finding him right here, and this is actually their main FC, and I can't have him going for another cap, which doesn't seem likely within 2 minutes, but I want to just take him down anyway, just to be sure. So I end up opening up with a cheap shot into hemorrhage, pop Shadow Dance, and I end up following up my cheap shot with a kidney shot, and this pretty much forces dispersion. So at this point, I'm just waiting for disperse to fall off, and I end up getting bashed. I trinket that, and he actually ends up rooting me here, so I cloak that off. Now, I'm not sure if he did that intentionally to try and force my cloak, but what he tries doing here, he tries to war stomp me into a clone, but I end up vanishing his clone, so I got pretty lucky there. And after that, I was able to finish him off pretty easily. Now, at this point, I noticed that they had our flag, so I used my Goblin Glider to go around the side to cut him off. And sure enough, he's coming out the side right here. And it looks like I have my team on him since pretty much everybody's on defense right now. He has Guardian up, so I'm just waiting for that to fall off. For some reason, he Blood Elf silenced me here. I'm not sure if he did that intentionally to get me out of stealth or if he did it by accident by targeting me. Nonetheless, I'm just waiting for Guardian to fall off here. Now, I do make a mistake right here. I should have realized that he had Fear back up, so I reopened with Garrote and Shadow Blades and Prima at the same time so I get 4 comm points. But I do get Feared off, which pretty much kills my opener. But I did realize that we only had a minute left in the BG, so it was fine either way. So I rocket booted back over to him. I opened up with Ambush into Eviscerate, into Mark for Death, into Eviscerate, and I just popped Shadow Dance here because the game's pretty much over and there's really no point in saving it for anything. So I do get the kill and the flag return, so I end up just switching over to this Shaman over here, and this Shaman's taking the biggest beat in this entire game. This guy's just trying to get geared up and he's just taking such a punishment. Anyway, I do get the kill on him, and that's pretty much game right here. There's no way they could actually come back from that. And at this point, I'm just looking for any other kills I can get, which I don't end up getting. I try opening up on this Feral, but this Feral has way too much health, and I don't have any offensive CDs left. So I wasn't able to take him down, but I did end up going 16-1, which is pretty good considering I was FCing for a good 2/4 of the game. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this BG post commentary. I plan to do more of these in the future. And I hope this pretty much gave you an idea of what my mindset is whenever I do a BG. And I hope everybody got some out of this. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.